Mr. Costanzo, you've got the floor now to speak to us on how operators ensure that there is integrity in sport. So, Mr. Costanzo, over to you. These are private operators for sports betting and games in general, online gaming. So I'll hand over to you. What do you do as an operator to answer this question when it comes to online betting?
Les opérateurs de paris sportifs ont tout intérêt à être impliqués.
Sports betting operators should be involved because if somebody is cheating, we are involved, and somebody is going to try and bet with us in order to earn more money. It's going to be a fraud. Take away some money that we don't owe him, and there is a problem of credibility. If the usual bettors feel that sports betting is fixed, is manipulated, they are going to stop betting and watch sporting events. So it's a problem for us, but for everybody else. This is why when an operator accepts a sporting bet, takes a risk, and there is always a problem of integrity. So checks have to be carried out. I'm talking as a private operator, but I think that the same thing applies to a state operator. We have integrity teams working 24 hours a day to check everything that is happening on our platform, on our site. So they know the gamblers, and in a regulated environment, and we're talking about regulation with licenses. We know the gamblers, we know who bets, there's no cash, there is no anonymity, but of course there's still some frauds. So there is an audit trail. There's teams working on the integrity, check on the gamblers, but also check the flow of bets. When something is strange, when something is happening and it is considered as strange, a warning is issued. When I can tell you that when one of the operators, or that the operators spend on average 1 million euros each year in order to take care of integrity. We have local regulatory obligations that we have to comply with, and also the regulatory statutory obligations that we impose on ourselves. Concerning the local regulatory commitments, we know what we have to do in case of a warning. In France, for instance, as soon as something unusual happens, we have to give information to the regulator and also to the sporting authorities. But we've gone further than that. In those countries where there is no obligation like that, we also issue the necessary information in case of an unusual transaction. But the issue of manipulation of sporting events is international, it's not local. It's not a local issue. Sometimes in a given country, country A, somebody tries to fix an event in a country B and by betting in a country C. In that case, the operator has only 1/3 of responsibility and accountability. And this is why, over the past 5 years, international initiatives have been initiated. You've heard about the Convention of the Council of Europe. It's the most important instrument that has been adopted during the past years because it's a binding instrument for those countries ratifying the Convention. It's the first time that we have a common base in order to join our forces. We often said that the key to our efforts is cooperation, international cooperation, and exchange of information. Nowadays, if a certain number of countries ratify this convention, then we will have the relevant instruments available. This is why I would like to invite the private operators to support out this convention and promote it. The Council of Europe Convention, if it cannot be signed by the countries outside of the Council of Europe, could become the UNESCO Convention or the UN Convention and become worldwide. We do not need to reinvent the wheel and duplicate the work that has been already been done over 3 years. So I think that this convention should be developed on a global basis. Secondly, the work that has been done by the International Olympic Committee. The Integrity Vetting International System is a system, a reporting system, in case of suspicion concerning some sporting events. And thanks to the IOC, for the first time, all the sporting federations members of the IOC, there were 28 members of the IOC for the Winter and Summer Games, are part and parcel of this system. And for the first time, we have only one point of contact for all the national federations. So the private operators can sign agreements with the IOC, and the IOC can disseminate the information. And if somebody in a national federation has a suspicion concerning one event, it can pass on the information to the IOC. So there is an exchange of information. Now, we could wonder to what extent this exchange of information is going to be detailed, but this is not for today, a debate for today. The third initiative is the Private Operators Initiative. In 2005, we have set up an association called ESA, which is the integrity, the structure of the regulated operators, 17 members in the world, and they have licenses in Europe, Asia, America, and Australia. The advantage of this structure is that it makes it possible to pool the integrity teams of those operators. When a suspicion, there is a suspicion, a warning is issued to all the other operators of the system, and if and they have to say whether they have the same suspicion or not. And after that, the operators decide whether there is a suspicion of manipulation, of fixing, and in that way, the sporting authorities will be involved. The advantage is to be able to pool the resources of each operator. I told you that on average 2 million euros per year is spent by an operator, and with 19 operators members of this association, I would say that this association spends about 40 million euros per year for integrity, to defend integrity. Well, what can we do in order to control this problem? Education and prevention. We feel that it's a key issue. This is why for the past, over the past 5 years, we have made a lot of investments in order to support EU athletes, which is the trade unions of European professional athletes. You've heard about that this morning by the representative of this trade union. We support an education program which has been recently supported financially by the EU Commission. There are still 2 years of work ahead of them, and more than 15,000 professional athletes have been enrolled in Europe. About 5 or 6 years ago, when the discussion started on the international level concerning the manipulation of sporting events, in the beginning, we said we need to focus on regulation, education, controls, and sanctions. As far as regulation and sanction are concerned, it's up to the regulator and legislator. This is why it's important to have one supervisory authority which can control this sector in most countries, which is not the case in Asia, where the regulation is very weak. And then we have the education aspect, which is really of paramount importance. Many sporting organizations started to invest in this sector, in this area. Thank you.